It was the year 2014, and the setting was the quiet town of Hanwell, nestled in the London borough of Ealing. This is where our story begins. A story that would later send shockwaves through the UK and leave an indelible mark on the hearts of many. Meet Alice Gross, a young girl born on Valentine's Day in the year 2000. Alice was the beloved daughter of Hosey Gross and Rosaline Joan, and the cherished younger sister of Nina. Together, the Gross family raised their two daughters in a home filled with love, creativity, and warmth. Alice was no ordinary teenager. Described by countless people as a truly lovely young girl, she had a natural curiosity that drove her to excel academically. Her head teacher once remarked that Alice was incredibly bright, a student who stood out not just for her intelligence, but for her artistic soul. Alice had a deep connection to nature, which she expressed through her artwork. She was also a gifted songwriter, pouring her emotions into original compositions that she performed herself. Whether she was playing the piano, acting in school plays, or simply spending time with her family and friends, Alice radiated a kind of light that drew people to her. But beneath the surface of this bright, talented girl, there was a struggle. Like many teenagers, Alice was navigating the turbulent waters of adolescence. She was grappling with personal physical changes and the mounting pressures of school, particularly as she prepared for her GCSE exams. To make matters worse, Alice had begun to battle anorexia, a condition that took a toll on her health and well-being. Despite this, she remained resilient, rarely letting her struggles interfere with her education or her passion for music. One day, while at school, Alice was tasked with writing an essay. The topic: freedom of movement across Europe. In her essay, Alice argued passionately in favor of allowing people to move freely, even if they had committed crimes. She believed that banning foreign criminals from entering the UK would introduce an element of racism, suggesting that Britain viewed foreign criminals as more dangerous than their British counterparts. Little did anyone know, this essay would later take on a chilling significance, a haunting foreshadowing of the tragedy that would soon unfold. On Saturday, August 28, 2014, at 1:00 p.m., Alice set off for a walk along the Grand Union Canal, a scenic stretch of waterway that connects London to Birmingham. This wasn't unusual for Alice. She often sought solace in nature, finding peace among the trees and the water. Before leaving, she assured her mother she would be home by 6:00 p.m. Alice was known for her punctuality. She was never late, and if her plans changed, she always let her parents know. Her route took her south from Hanwell to Brentford, passing landmarks like Hanwell Lock, Trumpers Field, and Boston Manor Park. At 3:45 p.m., she was captured on CCTV at Brentford Lock, likely the turning point of her journey. She carried her phone, but had no money with her. The last confirmed sighting of Alice was at 4:26 p.m. near the Trumpers Way underpass. Cyclists zipped by, eager to get home after a long day, but as Alice walked along the path, an ominous presence loomed. Someone was watching her, a dangerous man with a dark past. His name was Arnis Zalkalns. To understand the full weight of this story, we must turn our attention to Arnis, the man who would forever alter the course of Alice's life. Born in Latvia in 1973, Arnis's early life remains shrouded in mystery. What we do know is that by the age of 16, he was working on building sites, and as he grew older, he developed a troubling pattern of behavior. Arnis had a penchant for pursuing young, impressionable women in nightclubs, often while dealing illegal substances. It was in one of these nightclubs that he met Rovita, a seamstress with a kind heart and a carefree spirit. Arnis swept her off her feet with compliments and promises of a bright future. Despite her mother's disapproval, she saw Arnis as controlling and volatile. Rovita fell deeply in love. When she became pregnant, the couple married quickly, and in an unusual twist, Arnis insisted they take Rovita's maiden name instead of his own. But the marriage was far from happy. Arnis's controlling nature and fiery temper soon became apparent. He openly had affairs, causing strain in their relationship. After the birth of their daughter, Alvera, in February 1995, things took a darker turn. Rovita began to document her growing fear and depression in her diary, detailing Arnis's aggressive behavior. In 1996, during a heated argument, Arnis shot Rovita in the stomach with a low-caliber gun. Miraculously, she survived, but the incident marked a turning point in their relationship. The bullet lodged near her spine, but Arnis refused to pay for the surgery to remove it. Doctors were forced to stitch her up, leaving the bullet inside her body, a constant, painful reminder of her husband's brutality. At first, Rudita lied about the shooting, claiming it was the work of a biker gang in a case of mistaken identity. But eventually, she confided in her mother, revealing the horrifying truth: Arnis had shot her. Yet, even then, she was too terrified to report him to the police. She stayed with him, enduring his abuse for years. By 1997, Arnis's cruelty reached its peak. In March of that year, he decided to kill Rudita, the mother of his daughter. His motives remain unclear, but his actions were calculated and brutal. He ventured into a secluded woodland, dug a shallow grave, and placed a scaffolding pipe and a knife beside it. Then, he returned home and convinced Rudita to accompany him into the woods. What followed were moments of unimaginable terror. Arnis picked up the scaffolding pipe and struck Rudita repeatedly over the head. When she fell, he plunged the knife through her heart. As her lifeless body lay before him, he dragged her into the grave and buried her. Standing over her makeshift tomb, he toasted the moment with a shot of vodka, a chilling act of celebration. To cover his tracks, Arnis claimed ignorance about Rudita's disappearance, feigning concern to friends and family. But detectives soon uncovered Rudita's diaries, which detailed her fear of her husband. In July 1998, Arnis was arrested. He confessed to the murder and led authorities to Rudita's grave. In a pathetic attempt to justify his actions, Arnis claimed Rudita was a homosexual, unfaithful, and a deviant who had touched their young daughter. His lies worked. A Latvian judge sentenced him to just 12 years in prison, of which he served only 7. After his release in 2005, Arnis remarried and had a baby boy. Rudita's mother tried to warn his new wife about the monster she was marrying, but her warnings fell on deaf ears. The family left Latvia in 2007, seeking a better life in London. But Arnis's dark past followed him. In 2009, he was arrested for indecently assaulting a 14-year-old girl. Tragically, the victim chose not to cooperate with the police, and the case was dropped. Arnis walked free once again. At the time, UK police did not routinely check for foreign convictions, and Arnis's violent history went unnoticed. Rudita's mother had warned that he was still a threat to society, but no one listened. Then, on August 28, 2014, Arnis's predatory instincts resurfaced. While riding his bike home, he spotted 14-year-old Alice, a petted girl with a slim build. Arnis, now 41 and stocky, saw an opportunity to satisfy his twisted desires. He dismounted his bike, hid in the shadows, and waited to ambush her. At approximately 4:24 p.m., Arnis grabbed Alice and dragged her to a secluded area. He ripped off her clothing and assaulted her, his heavy body crushing her small frame. As he violated her, Alice struggled to breathe. With each exhale, she fought for air, but it was no use. By the time Arnis finished, Alice was dead, suffocated under his weight. In a desperate attempt to cover his tracks, Arnis stripped Alice of her remaining clothing, tied her body in the fetal position, and stuffed her into several bin bags. He added bricks and a bike wheel for weight, then carried her to the river. He placed her in the shallow water and covered her with 6 large tree trunk logs arranged in a pyramid. After disposing of Alice's body, Arnis went to a local shop and bought alcohol, as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Alice's disappearance became part of a shocking statistic. Approximately 25,000 young people go missing in London every year. While most are found within days, Alice's fate was far darker. The first few days after someone goes missing are critical. Every passing hour diminishes the chances of finding them alive. For Alice, a 14-year-old girl who vanished on August 28, 2014, time was slipping away, and her family was living in a nightmare. Alice's mother was distraught. She knew her daughter had left the house with no money, so she couldn't have gone far. Something was terribly wrong. Alice was always punctual, always mindful of time. Her absence was out of character, and her family's worry grew with each passing hour. By September 1, 4 days after her disappearance, the Metropolitan Police had launched a full-scale search. They spoke to their friends, conducted house-to-house inquiries, and combed through parks and open spaces. But despite their efforts, there were no leads. Alice was still missing, and hope was fading. Her family made a heartfelt appeal, urging Alice to get in touch. "We desperately miss you," they pleaded. Her mother voiced her deep concern, revealing that Alice suffered from anorexia. There was a fear that she might have collapsed and fallen into the nearby River Brent. The police shared this concern, but as days turned into weeks, they began to suspect something far more sinister. If Alice had fallen into the river, her body would have decomposed and floated to the surface by now. The absence of any sign pointed to something more deliberate. Someone had a hand in her disappearance. On September 4, a week after Alice vanished, the police released CCTV footage capturing the last moments she was seen alive. In the footage, Alice walked alone, wearing a purple backpack. Soon after, investigators discovered the backpack and the shoes she had been wearing that day, abandoned along the path. Her family renewed their appeals for help. Her mother made an emotional plea. "We'd like to say to Alice, first of all, that we miss her and that we love her. She is in no trouble. We just want to know that she's safe. We just want her to know that she can come home." The police also released photographs of cyclists who had ridden by the location where Alice was last seen, hoping to track them down for further information. This led to the arrest of two men, a 25-year-old on September 6 and a 51-year-old on September 7. But neither of them was Arnis, and both were soon ruled out. As the search intensified, divers and sniffer dogs were brought in. Alice's father made another plea, his voice heavy with grief. There is a massive hole in the family, but still there was no sign of Alice. Then, on September 16, a breakthrough. Detectives at Scotland Yard uncovered evidence of another man in the area at the time Alice disappeared. Arnis. CCTV footage showed Arnis passing Alice on the path at around 4:10 p.m. He stopped for at least 80 minutes before continuing along the path. When he reappeared on camera, his trouser legs were rolled up, suggesting he might have been in the water. Later that evening, he was seen buying beer at a nearby shop. The police dug deeper. More footage emerged, showing Arnis carrying a heavy rucksack on September 4. When officers went to his house, he was gone. His family, shocked, revealed that Arnis had been missing since September 4. Arnis's family was baffled. His disappearance was completely out of character, and they were deeply worried. The authorities suspected he might have fled back to Latvia, but there was no evidence to support this. His bank account hadn't been accessed for days, and his passport was still at home. So where had he gone, and what had he done? While the police intensified their search for both Alice and Arnis, Alice's mother, Rosalind, refused to give up hope. On September 25, 2014-28 days after Alice's disappearance, Rosalind appeared on BBC's Crime Watch. Her voice trembled as she made another heartfelt appeal. "There isn't a moment in the day where we're not thinking about Alice," she said. "Where she is, what might have happened, why she disappeared." A graphic was shown, tracing Alice's last known footsteps, a haunting reminder of the young girl who had vanished without a trace. 4 days later, on September 29, the police launched the largest search operation conducted by the Metropolitan Police since the 2005 London bombings. Over 600 officers from 19 forces combed through 25 square kilometers of open land and 5.5 kilometers of canals and rivers. The search was exhaustive, but it finally yielded a grim discovery. On September 30, 33 days after Alice was last seen, her decomposed remains were found in the River Brent. She was concealed beneath 6 large tree trunks, her body naked and curled in the fetal position, wearing nothing but a single sock. Layers of bin bags, weighed down by bricks, had been used to hide her. The rest of her clothing was never found. The following day, Alice's family identified her body, confirming the worst. The police now knew they were dealing with the murder, but the question remained, why? A post-mortem was conducted, but the initial results were inconclusive. However, crucial evidence began to emerge. Arnis's DNA was found on Alice's shoe and on a cigarette butt at the crime scene. When investigators searched Arnis's home and workplace, they discovered Alice's phone case buried in his garden. One of the bin bags used to conceal the body matched a roll of bags found at his workplace. Further tests on Alice's body suggested the cause of death was compression asphyxiation, a larger body lying on top of a smaller one, crushing the life out of her. The motive, it seemed, was sexual. The police continued their search for Arnis, fearing he might still be at large or abroad. But on October 4, they found him -20 minutes away from where Alice's body had been discovered. Arnis was hanging from a tree in a densely wooded area, his body heavily decomposed. 2 days later, his identity was confirmed. It was clear what had happened. Arnis had murdered Alice, disposed of her body, and then taken his own life. The case was closed, but the pain was far from over. Alice's funeral was held on October 23, 2014. Her coffin, adorned with a meadow scene and images of her 3 beloved cats, was driven through her hometown of Hamwell. The artwork, painted by her grandmother's sister and a family friend, symbolized Alice's love for nature, a poignant tribute to a life cut tragically short. The case sparked national outrage and became politicized, as Alice had been killed by a foreign national with a violent past. Her parents released an essay Alice had written, a heartbreaking reminder of the bright, creative girl they had lost. In the wake of her murder, the Metropolitan Police announced a policy change. Foreign nationals arrested in the UK would now undergo thorough background checks, including criminal records from abroad. In 2015, Alice's family called for targeted reforms to improve the exchange of information on high-risk offenders across Europe, making it harder for criminals to enter the UK. The story of Alice Gross is one of unimaginable tragedy, a life stolen too soon by a man who should never have been allowed into the country. It's a story that highlights the failures of the system, but also the resilience of a family determined to ensure that no one else suffers as they have. Stay with us as we reflect on Alice's legacy, the changes her death inspired, and the lessons we must learn to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again.